I thought I would do a video talking about my thoughts on a new foundation that I just got recently, and this is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation. I have two of them. I'll explain why in a minute. This is definitely not new to the cosmetics world. If you guys have been watching YouTube for a while, I'm sure that you have seen a lot of reviews on this, but it's new to me, and so I thought that I would share my experiences with it. I have not purchased a drugstore foundation in years, and it's not because I'm snubbing drugstore foundations, it's because it's hard for me to find a shade in the typical like L'Oreal, Maybelline cosmetics line. I find that the deeper the shades go, like in terms of skin tone, the more pink red they tend to lean, and my skin is more yellow olive. So it's hard for me to find. I don't want to spend $17 on a foundation that I have to like finagle with because it doesn't really match me anyway. I would rather just add a little bit of money and then go to Sephora or a counter and then find a foundation that matches me better, because foundation typically lasts for a while. Like, I don't run through foundation all the time because I don't use foundation every day. But I was in Target and I saw these, and I'd been seeing stuff about them all over the place. I have friends who have done videos on them, and I noticed that the price was only $5.99, and I was like, hold up, wait a second, $5.99? That is so rare to find a drugstore foundation for $5.99. But I realized that the shade that was the closest to me, it's 330 Toffee Caramel, is too dark for me, and then the one below that, which is 322 Warm Honey, is too light for me. But because they were only $5.99, I bought two of them, and I figured I could mix them to create my perfect shade, which I did, and I will show you a demonstration of how I do that and how I apply it on my face. But the lasting effects of this foundation is amazing. Now, just a little bit about my skin. I don't have oily skin. I can be a little bit combination in the summertime, like especially if I'm out and about, just because it's hot and it's humid. But for the most part, my skin is pretty normal. And I found that this foundation provides a really great medium to buildable coverage, and it lasts all day. The first time I used it, actually, I put it on, it was probably 11 o'clock in the morning. I powdered sometime around 5 in the afternoon, and not because I even needed to powder. I just kind of was like, let me powder just to make sure that nothing happens, because I was running out of the door. Yeah, so I powdered around 5, and then it was fine until like 10 o'clock at night. And I got home and I was like, oh my goodness, my foundation still looks amazing. It provides such a great canvas. The consistency of it is really easy to work with. Like, sometimes foundations, especially when they last all day or they are more full coverage, then you have to sort of do one side at a time because it dries really quickly. This does not dry super quickly, but when it does dry, to the touch, it feels great. It doesn't feel dewy, it doesn't look dewy. I almost didn't want to set it with a powder when I was finished because I was like, it just looks perfect just the way it is, so I just kind of want to leave it. I did end up setting it, which I will show you later, but yeah, I'm totally in love with these foundations. I think you can actually get them on Amazon for slightly cheaper, so I will put that link in the description box below. But if you're interested in seeing what it sort of looks like on me, especially because I have to match two shades, then I will show you that next. Again, this is 330 Toffee Caramel, 322 Warm Honey. The shade range of the Matte and Poreless foundation is not as wide as the regular Fit Me foundation. So if anybody's curious, you might be one shade in the regular Fit Me, and that might not exist in the Matte and Poreless. But again, if you can find a couple of shades that you might be able to finagle to make work for you, then I definitely suggest it, because it's only $5.99. And if you go to like Walgreens or CVS whenever they're having one of those BOGO sales or 40% off all Maybelline products, hey, who doesn't love that, right? Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I do to apply this onto my face, and if I forget anything, I will make sure to put that in the description box below. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm just looking at my face right now, trying to figure out the parts that I want to cover up the most. I do have, this is a scar, so I like to cover that up with foundation, and then I have like some hyperpigmentation from a breakout right there, and my pores are not super huge right now. Sometimes they can be, but I don't know, I guess I've been doing pretty good with my skincare. So my pores are not super huge, but we always want to cover those things up. So before I go in with my foundation, I am going to use a primer. This is always what I do when I want a foundation to last all day long. And I am using the Becca, what is it called? Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfect. This stuff is amazing. I only have a sample size that I got from my Missy Lynn goodie bag, but as soon as it's out, I'm definitely going to be purchasing the full size of that. That's like the best primer I've ever used in my whole life. That's really strange. But yeah, so it just mattifies everything. It makes everything stay. It's like the best primer on the planet. It's not that weird silicone-y base, so it doesn't glide on as smoothly, but it's fine with me because it makes my makeup last forever. Okay, so I'm using my trusty beauty blending sponge. And I'm just going to take both of these colors. Again, I'm using 330 Toffee Caramel, 322 Warm Honey, and I'm going to mix them on the back of my hand and then use that to stipple on. Because as you can see, that's a bit too light, and then that is a bit too dark. So, and I also like to match the foundation with my neck. So, okay, so I'm going to shake them and then mix them and then start to apply them. Just putting a little bit on the back of my hand. This is the 330 Caramel Toffee, so you can see that's slightly too dark. Just gonna add in a little bit of this, which is slightly too light. And what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna take my finger and mix the two together. I just find that it's better when I mix it before I start to dabble the Beauty Blender sponge in there. So just mixing it both together, and that should cover my entire face. So then I'm just going to start to apply it, and then take my beauty blending sponge and just dabbing it on. Now this foundation does not dry too fast, not for me. Like some foundations you really have to work with quickly, so you have to almost do quadrants of your face because it'll just dry so fast. This one is not like that. I can apply the dots all over my face and then go in and blend with the Beauty Blender, but if you like to work with one side of your face at a time, you can certainly do that. I probably should have done that so that you could see the difference, but you will be able to tell the difference once I'm finished because you won't see the scarring and all that stuff. So okay, so with one very liberal coat, you can see that it does provide like a nice even canvas. When I look at my face really closely, I mean, it really does sort of conceal all of those pores. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take the little bit that's left on the back of my hand, and I will just go over it using it almost as a concealer. I'll just go over those parts that I really want to cover up, like the hyperpigmentation and that scar that I have right there, and then I just lightly will blend that in. Same here. You don't want to swipe anything because that's going to wipe everything away, so I just like to gently dot, and that is completely gone. I can't even see that blemish anymore. Same goes with my scar that's on that side. Yesterday I did not use a concealer. What I did was I took the lighter shade and I put this underneath my eyes. So I'm just going to take a little bit more on the back of my hand, like so. Small, teeny, tiny bit. And then I'm just going to use that as concealer. So I'm going to go in with the tip of my Beauty Blender and conceal underneath my eye. And this works really well for me on a day-to-day basis, like when I don't really want to do any highlighting or contouring, but I do want the brightness underneath my eye. I just go in with a foundation that's slightly lighter than my skin tone, and I have a couple of those because in the winter time I'm one color, and then in the summertime I'm another color. So, and then I'll just take the back of my beauty blending sponge and blend that into the rest of my foundation, just so that there's no lines of demarcation. And this is the foundation. It might look a little washed out because of the lights on me, but I promise you that in person it matches completely. I like how the two colors blended well together, and yeah, now it dries. Once it's dry. Like when I first used it, I was almost like, do I even need to set it with a powder? Because I found that, I mean, to the touch, it's dry. It feels great. Like it doesn't feel dewy or sticky or anything like that. It doesn't look dewy or sticky. It just looks like it's matte and it's perfect. But I do But I do like to set just a little bit, at least underneath my eye area, to make sure that there's no creasing under there. And I'm just using my Sasha Cosmetics Buttercup and a large fluffy brush, and I just go in with a very light dusting of powder in the areas where I do get a little bit oily. So right down the center, like the T-zone area, and then again I'm just gonna go underneath my eyes just because I don't want any creasing there. So just to set it a little bit. Okay, and that's it. I just added a little bit of blush to bring color back to my face, but you can see the results of the foundation, and it will stay like this all day long. I'm serious. It's like the perfect foundation, and it's drugstore, and it's only $5.99. So I definitely encourage you guys to go and pick this up. You will love it. If you can't find a shade that matches you, just try getting two like I did and then mixing them to create your perfect color. It's so inexpensive that it's almost ridiculous not to try it, you know what I mean? And a lot of times if you hate it, if you go to Walgreens or CVS or Ulta, they will let you return it even after you've opened it. So definitely try this. I know that this is not a new product, but it's new to me, so I thought I would come on and share it. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If any of you were curious about my thoughts on the Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation, leave any questions or comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Take care.